So, this video isn't going to be as organized, in big quotes, as what I've been putting out on this channel recently, because I'm really fucking pissed. And the movie I'm going to be focusing on in this video is not a bad movie at all. In fact, it's a fantastic movie. This isn't a new release. This isn't, something that is talked about frequently in like the top 100 from AFI's list as like one of the greatest movies of all time. But if I had the proper experience viewing it, I would have thought it was. Because Roman Polanski's film, The Tenant, is absolutely fantastic. It's a beautiful movie in terms of cinematography. All the performances are fantastic, especially from Isabella Adjani and Roman Polanski themselves. They're fantastic. The score is so unsettling and creepy. This movie is like a spiritual successor to Rosemary's Baby in the way it's shot, the way it's acted, the subject matter. I mean, a baby doesn't get sacrificed to Satan in this movie, but I won't spoil the ending. It's a movie that I would absolutely recommend you watch, but I cannot rate it because my viewing experience of this film was completely fucking tainted. And this is a discussion that I have been wanting to have for a long time about film viewing and conditions to do so, and audience participation. So I'll just group all that shit into one video. So, the reason this viewing experience was particularly flawed, and why I felt I need to talk about it, none of the conditions were in my control. I was basically watching it in a theater setting, because this wasn't just like, oh, I decided to buy The Tenant on Blu-ray or DVD, pop it into my player, and just watch it for funsies. You know, I was watching this for a class that I'm currently taking at my college on Alfred Hitchcock, Roman Polanski, and David Fincher. And The Tenant was one of the films on the syllabus. So we watched it in class today, and through the past couple of screenings in this class, our projector has been having issues. First of all, this classroom is really small, and it's just being projected. It's not like we're watching it in the big theater on campus like the art of cinema class here gets. We're watching it on a small screen, and usually the projector takes up all of the screen. And it's somewhat immersive still. Like, every screening we had watched up until, I would say, Marnie was pretty much flawless in its, we still had issues with the projector. Our teacher doesn't really know what he's doing in terms of technology, but it was still okay. And then last week or 2 weeks ago, we had some issues with the projector, and it wouldn't work. It just shut off, and the light bulb needed to be replaced. And the teacher kept putting notices in the classroom saying, hey, they need to fix this projector. And because every single week they would have to call in the tech people, and they would have to fucking fix the projector, and the university has just done nothing so far. So every time we have to watch a movie in this classroom, they have to get the tech people in and do their thing. Now, cut to this week. We are going to watch The Tenant, the 1976 Roman Polanski film. I have been excited for this since the semester began. Once I found out all the movies on the syllabus, it was this movie and I think Repulsion, which were the two I was most excited to be in the class. Repulsion we couldn't even watch in class. I had to watch at home because the projector broke. So now we're watching The Tenant, right? The tech people have to come in and set up this new projector. Sorry if there's a noise in the background. The fire alarm went off in one of the buildings adjacent to here. So they bring in this separate projector, and the projection doesn't even cover up the entire screen. It's not even a square. It's like a fucking, what's the shape? It's like a, oh god, I forgot all of geometry. It's a parallelogram. It's not even a shape. It's like a parallelogram where two sides of the square are really long, and it kind of curves in like almost a triangle, but not a triangle, and it turns into a square. And it was just the worst. That's how we watched Fight Club last week, because that's a movie you want to watch on a tiny little fucking blob, And they put on the projector. They take like 10 minutes fiddling with this thing. The professor doesn't know what he's doing. He's an older gentleman, and he doesn't understand this kind of technology, so he's letting the kids do it. And the kids are obviously on like a schedule. The projector people, they're students. These aren't professionals. These are students. And the one guy keeps looking at his watch because he's going to go somewhere. So they're fixing this projector, and just, oh my god. They don't even do it properly. They set up the projector to where it's not covering the whole screen. It's just that awful parallelogram shape. And then the professor decides that we're not going to watch the version of the Tenet that's in English, even though it was filmed in English. He says, oh, this is a movie that was shot in Paris. Roman Polanski is a Polish immigrant who speaks fluent French and is a French citizen. So we're going to watch the French dub. Oh God, the dubbing was so terrible. So it's like, basically, if you watch any of Werner Herzog's movies from 1970 on until like 1985 or 87, whenever his last Klaus Kinski movie was, they shot all of those films in English, but they dubbed over it in German. And it's noticeable, like when you read the actor's lips along with the subtitles, you can tell they're saying the dialogue in English. So why didn't they just keep the English cut? It doesn't make any fucking sense. And that's what happened with the Tenet. They dubbed it in French, but if you read the subtitles up with the actor's lips, they were speaking English. And it was so distracting. And also, they didn't, the tech people, they weren't even helping the professor set up the movie properly, because he doesn't know how to work the shit. So they just put the movie on in the little video player on Windows, and they don't even full screen it. They don't even full screen it. It's like the box. It's like a small window. You can see the desktop in the background, and you could see the runtime bar going through the whole thing. So immediately, I'm just like, I'm fucking checking out now. I can't watch this movie seriously because, like, I don't want to watch this movie right now because it's in the worst possible condition. So I just put my head down on my desk and I sleep for like 40 minutes. And then a loud noise in the movie wakes me up and I can't go back to sleep and just sit through the whole movie without watching it. I could have just gotten the movie from the library course reserve, rented out one of those little private screening rooms we have at my school, and just watched the movie in beautiful silence. I had to sit through what is possibly the best parts of this movie with this little runtime bar on the bottom of the screen telling me how much time is left, with the little Windows background happening, and the projection isn't even covering up the whole screen. Oh God, it was the absolute worst possible conditions you can view a movie. And people are wondering probably, Ryan, why are you so mad? You're just watching a movie in a classroom, right? It can't be that bad. Like, you know, you could just go home and watch it. I take the film viewing process very seriously. It is a sacred process. And it's like, people put movies on in the background. There are some movies that are meant to be just put on in the background and you can talk over them. Like, for example, if you're just trying to watch like a really shitty, you know, TNT movie like Black Sea with Jude Law or whatever that stupid movie was called, you can just put that on in the background and do your laundry or grade papers or whatever, or do whatever your job is that you're working from home. But with a movie like The Tenet that has so much artistic merit and so much effort put into the way it was made, the way it was acted, the deeper meanings of the film, everything deserves to be paid attention to. Movies that are that special deserve to be paid attention to. And when people fidget, when people talk, it's like watching a film in a theater. The lights go out, everybody shuts the fuck up, watches the movie, gets up, and leaves when the credits start. Or you sit through the credits, because about 50% of the big budget fucking movies have after credit scenes now. The movies don't even end. That's a separate rant. I don't want to get into that. But like, nobody has any decency anymore when it comes to sitting down and watching movies. Thankfully, there weren't any talkers in this particular screening, but I can think back to just a couple weeks ago when I went and saw The Killing of a Sacred Deer in theaters, in a really nice theater in Santa Monica called The Landmark. It was beautiful. They had the guy show you to your seat, and you could have beer and drinks in the theater. You could get food. It's like one of those Alamo Drafthouse movies in Texas, but you don't get your own table. But I'm sure that's coming to California soon, and that's going to blow up. It's beautiful. It's amazing seats, amazing projection. It's just gorgeous to look at in that theater. And as soon as the lights went off and the movie started, it was like, okay, a bunch of the theater was still kind of empty, and my friends and I who were there were like, well, it looked like it was sold out. Why did we have to sit all the way up in these seats? You know? And as soon as the first bit of music started and the opening shot of the movie happened, like 10 people came in. People were late for the movie. It was ridiculous. And they were all on their fucking phones too. They had the flashlight on and they were shining up the air looking for their fucking seat. And it was so ridiculous. I cannot believe that people had the fucking gall to turn their flashlight on in a dark theater and, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I was fucking late, and I should have gotten here on time, but I'm a fucking moron, so I'm gonna shine my flashlight everywhere. About a year ago, a little over a year ago now, a friend of mine and I went to go see the film Don't Breathe in theaters. Pretty standard horror thriller, right? So typically those movies attract a certain audience of obnoxious, shitty teenagers. And my friend and I went to go see the movie. We got there just as the movie was starting. We got there a little bit late. But we didn't turn on our flashlights like some people like to do because we're not assholes. So we find us some good seats, we have a good view, we sit down, and as soon as we sit down, these two teenage girls and their statutory rape boyfriend, who was probably in his 20s at that point, were sitting right behind us, laughing really loud at dumb bullshit that didn't even warrant laughs. They were talking, they were screaming, they were kicking our seats. And both my friend and I multiple times turned around to tell them to shut the fuck up in the most polite way we could. We never cursed at them. We didn't yell profanities in the middle of the theater. We were polite to them. But they didn't return that politeness. They just kept fucking around. And the final straw, which made my friend almost get up and punch them in the face, was when one of the little shitty teenage girls pulled out her fucking phone and Snapchatted the movie. She started Snapchatting in the theater. I know, right? The fucking balls on this bitch to start Snapchatting in the middle of the movie. You know how we knew? Because we could hear the little click and a little flash went off behind us. Oh my god, it just makes me even angrier trying to tell the story. And she turned around and she just told them to grow the fuck up. And it was like, at one point, I threatened to go get the manager and get them kicked out of the theater. And if they did it again, I would have brought up how you're not supposed to be in here because you're not old enough to buy an R-rated ticket yet. But, you know, thankfully, after my friend screamed at them, they decided not to talk anymore. And I'm not saying all talking during movies is bad. I mean, there are times when it can actually make the movie entertaining if it's boring enough, or if it's like there's something uneventful, and it can add to the meaningful experience you have. Like, back in 2014, a friend of mine went and saw the film Big Eyes by Tim Burton in a theater. And it kind of took us out of the movie, and it was a little bit annoying, but it's a fond memory of mine, because the guy in the theater who was like a couple rows in front of us or behind us, I don't remember where we were sitting in the theater, but it was like the characters were just saying words, and the guy thought it would be okay to just go, ah, 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 as loud as he could. He actually laughed like that, I'm not even exaggerating. A couple months later, when we went and saw the film Mordecai with Johnny Depp, shitty ass movie, but there was this old guy who was down at the front of the theater who was just laughing his ass off. And given it was entertaining, and also it was a shitty movie, so we weren't invested anyway, but we weren't talking. We were still respectful, even though the theater was virtually empty, except for us and the group of old people down below. Sometimes commentary can actually add to the experience of a film. Like if you go to a midnight screening of Rocky Horror Picture Show and people are throwing toast at the screen or shouting lines at the screen, doing that read-along thing that people do. It adds to the experience a little bit because that's how the film was meant to interact with the audience and the audience to interact with the film. But most of the time, except for those very rare instances, your job when you go into a public theater is to sit down and shut the fuck up. I cannot stress that enough. constantly prodding people next to you, shouting, throwing popcorn at one another, making a scene in the theater, even if the movie's boring, is disrespectful. If you're bored in the movie, just get up and leave. Go get a refund. The theater will give you a free ticket for the next time you go and see a movie there. You don't have to stay. No one's chaining you to the seats. You have free will. You are a human being with a fucking brain. Use it. Oh, God. And I know it still may seem like I'm overreacting just a little bit, but as somebody who really appreciates the art of filmmaking, if I had a movie showing in a theater, I would expect people to be respectful while they're watching it, not bickering back and forth, throwing popcorn at each other, going on their phones in the theater. And I would expect the people showing the movie to actually know what they were fucking doing. Like, for like 3 movies this year, the projection has been garbage. When I went and saw Suburbicon just this weekend, the movie didn't start until 10 minutes after it was supposed to because there was an error 404 on the big screen. Like, the projector just decided to fuck itself all of a sudden. And it's like the lack of care in a lot of multiplexes and a lot of classrooms showing films is absolutely unacceptable. And because when you are watching a movie, you are supposed to be immersed in the world of the film. You are supposed to sit back and let them just grab you in. Now, if it's a bad movie, they don't succeed at that. And you have the right to criticize it, but you don't have the right to shout at the screen unless you're by yourself at home watching the movie on your TV and you decided that it's okay to do. I personally don't do that a lot because I have enough respect for the filmmakers to let the movie play and let myself get immersed in it even if I'm not enjoying the experience. Just imagine, okay, obviously people who are not really into film as much as I am are thinking, oh, it's just a movie. You know, you're taking it too seriously. Besides the fact that that is really insulting to the people who have put time and effort and blood and sweat and tears into the movies that you are consuming mindlessly, imagine it like this. You are trying to take a shit in a public bathroom. Just stay with me. You are trying to take a shit in a public bathroom. You have the nice little sheets of toilet covers that they give you in public restrooms. You're reading a magazine, you're on your phone, you're reading a book, you're just staring at the stall door. You want to be left alone. The bathroom is a sacred place. You want to be having a quiet experience. You want nobody to distract you or bother for you because it will make it harder for you to take a shit, which you need to do in order to stay alive. If you don't take a shit for too long, you will die. And imagine you are in this public bathroom at Target or wherever you are subjected to go to take this public shit that you're taking. And people just start banging on the fucking stall door or rolling bowling balls under your stall or crawling under or shining flashlights at you or chatting really loud while you're trying to piss or take a shit. And it makes it so hard for you to do that because you can't focus. The part of your brain that connects to your asshole will not let you shit. That is what it is like when people are bickering back and forth in a movie theater, or shining their flashlights everywhere, or shouting at the screen, or just laughing and super duper loud. It is taking the people who are there to actually be immersed in the experience out of the film. It's insulting, it's demeaning, and it needs to stop now. Theater chains are big fucking pussies. They won't do shit about it anymore. There used to be, you know that little thing that plays at the beginning of every movie that's like, please silence your cell phones. Please shut the fuck up when the movie starts. I'm paraphrasing, but you get what I mean. Nobody takes that seriously anymore. And theaters don't either, because they're so scared of streaming platforms like Netflix and Amazon and or just other things taking away their possible customers. So they just let them do whatever they want. They let them kick seats. They let them talk. They let them go on their phone. They let them do whatever the fuck they want. They just let the movie play if the projector's not even in full focus. I went to a movie, I forget which one it was, but the projector wasn't even in the right position. It was projecting the movie onto the wall. And nobody did anything. It wasn't until I got up and said, hey, the projector's a little fucked up, that they had to take 20 minutes to switch the damn thing, get the projector pointed at the screen properly, and get the movie started. They had to start it from the beginning. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this topic. It's unacceptable the way people are treating the art of cinema nowadays. They're so disrespectful. They are so, like, okay, if somebody's talking in a theater, or if I was talking a little bit loud, or if I was laughing a little bit loud, if somebody told me, excuse me, you're being a little too loud, please turn it down a little bit, I would be like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. Because that's what respectful people do. But nowadays, when someone tells you to shut the fuck up, that people either, like, laugh at you and just keep talking, or they act all offended, like you just stepped in their personal space and just, like, shoved a knife into their gut. And they act insulted, like you're the aggressor. I'm not a divisive person. I'm not one of those people who says, if you believe this, or if you do this, I can't be friends with you. Because you can't just look at people in terms of one personality trait. But I will say this. If I am in a theater and you are distracting me and the people around me who are trying to enjoy the movie just because you don't understand what it means to be polite, then you can go fuck yourself and you have no chance of being friends with me again. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to associate with you. If you don't take that sacred bond between you and the film seriously, then you can go fuck yourself. That was really angry. I'm sorry.